So Timmy, how's your NVIDIA portfolio looking these days, man? 5 trillion. So
I mean, it could be looking better than, well, it could be looking better, but, I sold a bit of NVIDIA, I think earlier this year. I sold a little bit last year too.
yeah.
Well, first time I sold, I think was last year. I sold the recovery. So I sold to cover my initial investment, right? So I sold to pull out my initial investment so I can free fall or free play with this investment. I was like, you know what? If anything happens now, if it crashes, if it goes up, I'm good. My original investment is safe. I haven't lost any money, so I'm just playing with my profits right now. So I sort of just left it in there, and obviously it's grown since then. I keeps growing. Now with the recent announcement as well, with them acquiring Nokia, it's also it's hit that 5 trillion.
Acquiring, I think they invested in Nokia. I don't think they acquired. They invested
or whatever.
Yeah, hundreds of millions. Yeah, but
so
NVIDIA
I wish I never sold, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah, we're gonna talk all about it. It's backyard conversation. No country has hit 5 trillion before, so this is the first time, on paper, any company has hit $5 billion in market cap. It's just saying for a company that makes GPU. I feel like that
is overvalued.
Them. I know. There's two ways to look at it, right? There's always going to be this demand for more compute, right? AI companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, they're always going to say more. And who's better positioned for that right now than NVIDIA? I don't really see AMD going toe-to-toe with them in this category, even though, yes, AMD had a recent agreement/deal with OpenAI, which is good for them. It's also one of these ways, from my perspective, it's one of those ways where OpenAI continues to confirm its credibility as one of the leading companies in AI, and it helps their investors look at them as, they're here for the long run. They keep investing in companies, they keep doing deals, and those numbers they're always a joke. 100 million, 2 billion, like it's always a lot of money, right? And so I know, that's what OpenAI just needs to continue doing. The money keeps going round and round in circles. They announced, a restructured partnership with Microsoft just yesterday, because today is the 31st on Halloween we're recording. But during Microsoft's earning call, they talked about their new partnership and, the next direction they're going to be taking it. So to circle back to NVIDIA, it is quite something. It is quite something to see how valuable this company is. And I don't think it's going to burst anytime soon. I know there will be a time where things are going to go back to normal, but we'll see more traditional companies like the Googles of this world, the Amazon, the Apple, where they will probably hit this mark and maybe go further. But for now, NVIDIA is like on a league of its own.
Yeah, it's in a league of its own in terms of market cap, yes. But are they truly valued at what? Is that their true value? That's what I'm saying, right? Because if you look at companies as Google that's posting, lots of millions in profit, same as Amazon, of these companies that have, I'm not saying NVIDIA's, their product is essential to companies like Google as well, and, Apple and the whole bunch of them too, right? But just looking at it, like with the actual things that they do produce and how much sales they actually garnering, are they valued properly? Who knows? We'll see how that goes. But I think they're a little bit overvalued, in my opinion.
I think so too.
But we'll see how the market plateaus, or how it kind of settle down and how it goes. But now, I'm not complaining because I got my money in there. So I mean,
it's usually the same, right? And that's the thing about this long game of investing. Because if you think about it, to your point, sure, we know them more for their GPUs and anything. But in terms of even artificial intelligence, and in terms of robotics, NVIDIA are doing a lot of things, and they're positioning themselves as like the core, like the central company for all of these things, like the future of AI, the future of robotics. They want to be there. They and so almost every time you hear about some development, there's always some kind of NVIDIA story, behind the scenes somewhere. Does that mean they're worth 5 trillion? No, I don't think so. But they should ride the wave. Someone compared Jesse Huang to people who stole shovels during the gold rush, right?
Fair enough. I mean, I get it. I mean, we've talked about NVIDIA in our last episode, right? So I mean, let's see how it plays out. Maybe we'll come back to this in the future. We'll see how it plays out, and then we'll talk about it then and see where things are going. But NVIDIA came into the market. Well, I mean, they've been in the market, but they took the market like a hurricane, and it is what it is. And just speaking of hurricanes, that's a great segue getting into Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica and all the devastation that's caused. When I looked at the mapping out of it and how it was moving through, and I've seen the after effects as well. That is just crazy.
Yeah. For someone who's, I've lived in quite a few hurricanes, and so I try and follow hurricane news closely because I still have, family and friends out on the American East Coast, and I'm always tracking some of these this weather patterns. But seeing what this thing did, I think it was mostly St. Elizabeth that got hit. I didn't know anything saying about
northwestern region mostly, right?
It's kind of like how one day goes by, you don't know some neighborhood exists, and the following day they're all over the news because a hurricane has like devastated that community. And Cuba got some rainfall. Haiti got some flooding. It's just sad. Whenever I hear about all these things in the news and I think about what people are going through, the first thing that comes to my mind is, how can someone help? Like, how do you donate? And it's like just so many scams in donation, bro. Like, are you going to give your money to the Red Cross? Do you trust that they're going to do something good with it?
That's true. Fair enough. I did see a friend post up on Instagram, and they had like a link that they said was legit and they can donate to. So I was just looking into that to donate into that actually. But at the same time, I still don't know like how legit is it too, right? Like it might seem legit, but yeah, it's hard to say. But yeah, my heart definitely goes out to everyone out there. Same. I've got a lot of friends from Jamaica. I haven't been to Jamaica yet. I do want to visit there at some point. But yeah, like I just feel bad. Like it's like, yeah, you live in a hurricane belt, or whatever it's called around that area, like all of the islands around there, right? Because I've been to like Borneo, for example. It was actually devastated before by a hurricane. They had the pink beaches there as well, which like the hurricane like destroyed. This was years ago. This was before 2017, so maybe 2015, somewhere around that time. I don't exactly remember, but yeah, I've definitely seen what sort of destruction that hurricanes can bring, right? Just a random thought about hurricanes. Did you know that hurricanes were exclusively named after women since 1953? But that got changed in 1978 when they started alternating with men. So because you're wondering why is they have names like human beings? Basically women.
And it's crazy because the most popular ones, like Katrina, for example, they're women, right? Right, or rather feminine names. And I will say, like, I've been the hurricane that I've been in that was scariest the most was the Hurricane Gustav. This was in Louisiana, right? So I'm in New Orleans with my family, and we waited just way too long to evacuate, and we're looking for a hotel. All the hotels were booked. So we said, you know what? Let's drive to Baton Rouge because we're expecting the hurricane to come through New Orleans and it's gonna leave Baton Rouge behind. But the hurricane did something the hurricane does sometimes, and it literally changed direction and came directly to Baton Rouge in Tigerland where we were. I remember how scary and devastating that was too, but thankfully we came out unscathed. So yeah, when I hear about Katrina, Melissa, and all those feminine named hurricanes, I always think about Gustav because that's the one we're seeing like closest, the nastiest one I've ever been in. But it's a good thing that some countries are donating to Jamaica's cause. I'm happy. I heard Canada is donating $8 million, which is a lot of money to start. Money is going through the United Nations, so let's hope all the $8 million is actually allocated. And it's not just something that's gonna fall along the wayside. Talking about logistics.
Again, I mean, I really like my heart goes out to everyone on that end, right? Like, just seeing the devastation. I'm sure a lot of people lost a lot of their investments, right? I'm hearing the death toll is still rising and all of those things. So there's all of that to be accounted for. Death toll is rising. Property loss. I'm sure lots of animals are gone. Just probably a lot of livelihoods are also wiped out as well. Infrastructure, those things. Decimated. Now you have to sort of rebuild and whatnot. So I understand the devastation of the hurricane, and my heart definitely goes out to them. If anyone out there knows a good site where you can donate to a trusted source that's actually doing work on ground and not just taking your money and using it for administrative purposes, like a lot of these charities do, a lot of the money actually goes into administrative purposes, right? The paperwork before it trickles down is only a little percentage of your actual money that actually gets sort of used as relief. So if anyone out there knows one of those reputable sources that we can use, I'm down to get that link.
You can find our links in the show notes. All our socials are in the show notes. You can find us online. Just comment, share with us, let us know. One of the better, more trusted partners we could work with in case we wanted to shed some more light on this. And we should talk about the heist. I feel like we haven't talked about this heist in like 2 or 3 episodes, and it's
giving money heist. It's literally giving money heist in real life. Like, what is going on? Is this Netflix has a new documentary. Congratulations, Netflix.
Perfect timing. Yeah, right. And it's gonna be the easiest thing to actually make because there's just so many angles of the footage. You've seen the phone footage of people. The guys with the crane coming down from the Louvre. It's just you don't even need professional actors to do a remake. You just pull anybody else the street.
It's crazy because it actually shows you. There's one thing I've always said, like actual security and the appearance of security. Like some places are actually not secure, but they have the appearance of security, so people don't even think to go in and try their luck because they just look. Oh, I use the example of like a lot of Nigerian security, so to speak, or like hotels, and I visit there, and they do the thing with the car bomb, like looking under the car. Most of them are not even paying attention, they're not doing anything. But they just have that appearance of security to make it look like, okay, this place is secure, but it's really not. The same thing that happened with the media lady that was basically jumped off the balcony that got killed, right? When I don't know, hired guns or armed robbers, or whatever you want to call it, came over to their apartment there. I'm sure that must have been marketed as a very secure estate, right? But at the same time, this is what we see. So it just shows you that I guess it's not as secure as we thought it was, right?
Exactly. With all the very expensive, valuable items on show, they weren't exactly in the Louvre building. It was one of the adjacent buildings where they keep these ornaments, and these people just, they had all the time in the world. They did their thing, took the jewelry,
and they got away. Like, how's the police not calling off parts of the city? I just don't get it. I don't get how they got away with this. And then there's talk now about them melting down the gold and things like that. I'm like, they're not doing that. That's not why they got this. Like, why? You can get gold from anywhere.
Yeah,
you can get gold from anywhere. Obviously, they're selling this somewhere to like a high-end sort of like buyer or something, right? They're not going to take artifacts. Basically.
I mean, good luck trying to get it back, because now the reports are coming in that they've apprehended maybe 4 or 5 people that were involved or something, maybe 2 confessed. I don't know how true this is.
So there's inside men, obviously. Someone working there definitely helps. There's always someone. There's always someone on the inside that helps with these things, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying they also found some DNA on the scene. So honestly, nowadays with how like media is, like you always have to double check your sources, make sure you're getting your right information from the right source. But I'm thinking about these guys went in with a crane, busted the windows. Maybe they are clumsy enough to leave DNA on the scene. That's why some of them are being busted. But good luck trying to get all that jewelry back, because even if they confess to the crime and say, we sold it in black market to this dealer who came with a mask, was wearing a balaclava, we don't know who it is, and it's gone. Or what about the money? We don't know, it's in crypto. I'm curious to see how this pans out.
We'll see. I mean, speaking of crime though, how do you feel about, Prince Andrew? Do you think though a crime will actually, alleged crime, do you think justice will be done there? Do you think he'll be brought to justice? Do you think he'll be charged with a crime, taken to court? Because so far he's enjoyed the protections of the royal family, he's enjoyed the protections of being royal in Britain. And now we see that King Charles is taking steps to basically remove said protections. First of all, they removed his, title, so to speak, his Royal Highness. That's been taken off. And I further read that that the king's actually working to remove his the status of prince, like take that away from him. And so far now they've since he's no longer a Royal Highness, they've removed him, and they're evicting him from his residence on one of the royal properties. So he no longer has a lease there. So I guess they won't be covering his residence anymore or payments for that. So I think slowly they are removing this. But I'm wondering if they'll go as far as to like completely distance themselves in a way where authorities can, if they have evidence or whatnot, actually come forward and be able to charge him with a crime. I don't think we've seen that I don't think we've seen members of the royal family, at least not in our lifetime, being charged with anything. Maybe back in the days of Henry Tudor, executing his wives or something like that. But I don't think we've seen anything in recent times where sort of like a royal family member has been brought to justice and maybe not even publicized, even if they have committed such crime. So I wonder how that's going to play out. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Honestly, I don't really know much about the royal family, to be honest, but just the association with the crown makes me want to think, like to your point, some of this stuff is just for the media, just to maybe get some people off their backs, I don't know if are there any associations with Jeffrey Epstein? There probably are, aren't there?
That's the whole thing, actually. Like a lot of it is connected to that,
And so if you think about it, if there are going to be scapegoats, I don't think it's going to be in the royal family. That's the way I want to see it. So something will happen. Right now, they're doing all they can to maybe just appease whoever is watching as a third party, to think maybe, oh man, at least there's some kind of discipline going on. But he's still one of their own. It's still their blood, right? I don't think they're going to just, send him to the slaughterhouse. So as far as royal family is concerned, I'm sure they'll still cover their own.
I mean, he is their blood.
All we can do is observe. Maybe there's going to be another Netflix documentary about this one.
Wow, Netflix is so happy. There's so many scandals in the world now. Let's keep pushing out content. Have content for the next 10 years.
One thing I know that inevitably we'll have a lot of coverage after the fact, even though it's quite unfortunate it's not getting a lot of coverage right now, is the genocide in Darfur, right, in Sudan. And someone has described the term genocide as like a legal definition because they don't want to compare it directly to draw parallels with other genocides in history. But if you look at what's happening there, where there's the RSF, which is some rapid support forces, a paramilitary, trying to go up against the official military of the country. They're fighting for different regions, and the casualty at the end of the day is just a civilian. It is wild how much bloodshed is. People are getting gunned down in hospital. Imagine wounded people in hospital beds just getting erased. It's it's heartbreaking.
That's crazy. But what I'm even trying to understand is the situation there. I mean, we know that South Sudan, for example, is the youngest country in the world because they seceded from Sudan itself, right? And this was allowed for them, allowed to happen because historically they've been treated very badly by the northern peoples in Sudan, which is predominantly like the Arab people, right? As opposed to like the black Sudanese people, right? And I think this is on the same premise where the western part of Sudan now is in conflict with the government of Sudan, saying that they also been treated bad, and they also have premise, right? And they also have, what's the word that they use in the court of law when something's been done before, so now you can do it again as well?
Like a precedent.
Thank you. They also have precedents now to also secede from Sudan. That's what I'm thinking in my head as well. But at the same time, they're also being funded by a much richer nation, right?
The UAE.
Coming out of the UAE, putting into the rebels. And what's the whole story there? Like, is it just a group of people that want secession? I'm not sure I understand. Or is it, the government trying to put down an insurrection? Or like, there's just so many faces that I don't really understand the source of the conflict itself. But either ways, like, we should not condone, killing of innocent people in hospitals, children, and then having those essentially terrorist acts be funded by an external government as well.
Exactly.
Right? Why is an external government taking part in the domestic affairs of a sovereign nation, right?
I agree 100%. And to your point, the confusing part of all this is not, you're not alone in that aspect, because I've seen policy makers and policy advisors talk about how the UAE's involvement here is so convoluted and confusing, is that it's basic. They're just funding the RSF, which is the paramilitary, but they don't have an end goal or a strategy. Kind of like how they were involved in Libya, but they didn't know what to do with it. Like, it's not like UAE wants to position itself as some kind of power of interference in political affairs and also geopolitical affairs, but to what end, right? There are big players like the UK, big players like the US and China who they're going out for resources, they're going out for land and for whatever they can ship back to their home countries. In this case, we know that Sudan is blessed with gold. They have tons of copper, and also when it comes to like agriculture, the river now runs through it, and they're just blessed with all that arable land. But I don't know how much gold is being siphoned out of the country, if I'm being honest right now. And the most underlying question is, to what end is this UAE involvement? Like, what are they trying to accomplish here? No one really knows. And they're funding this paramilitary. People have sent reports out of seeing British weapons on the ground, which were obviously bought by the UAE, right? Because and it's hard for Western powers to talk really much to them, because if you think about some of the major investments, the reason why NVIDIA is $5 trillion investment in AI, it's money coming in from the Middle East. There's a lot of money coming in from there. There's a lot of investments. There's strong relationships between the Western countries and the Emiratis, but there's just no visible end to this. The four major countries I think that are talking about mediation for this war currently in terms of like powers are like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the USA. But to this day, they haven't been able to come to terms on like what is going to be a valuable ceasefire. How's it going to...
And countries like Egypt as well have a bigger stake because they share a border. So
just northeast of more or northwest, I should say. Yeah,
exactly. So the repercussion could be greater for them to see like a spillover of refugees, for example, and things like that, or a spillover maybe potentially of the violence itself, right?
Of the violence. Well, I mean, if you look at some of the regions that the RSF has taken up, because they've taken, I think, 1/3 of like Sudan right now, so the remaining 2/3 is still being controlled by the military. But the region of the Sudanese map that crosses the border alongside Egypt, I think the RSF also have control there. So you can see how precarious this is, because they already have a border that's kind of protected with like RSF, because RSF is getting the UAE funding. And if you think about trade routes too, with Sudan, Suez Canal, straight access, right? And they're so close to the Mediterranean. So it's just a country that's well positioned for greatness, but right now it's being torn apart by some would say say some internal forces based on their previous leadership, but now even more so by external variables like UAE and the people just getting involved there. So it's something that should be talked about
something
more.
comes into effect, because I know like there was even a ceasefire and the African Union was meant to have peacekeepers over there as well, but even with the presence of those troops, that's really not affected anything. Like it just shows it just goes to show you what the influence is as well. Like what is the influence of the African Union if they're not able to sustain the peace in the region or control the ceasefire? Like what's going on with the force? And I mean, hopefully they get things under wraps and we can see an end to the violence and some sort of resolution can be reached, because I mean, how long can this go on for? Like that's going to cause more lives, more issues. It just the region is already not stable. It wasn't stable before this. They had issues, economic issues already before now. Like it's not sustainable for them to also have a war, because that also compounds the economic issue, leading to the common man and woman.
Right, they're always on the receiving end,
suffering even more, starving or whatever the situation might be. Access to resources, access to Medicare, things like that, right? So who knows? I mean, I know we'll definitely visit this in the future because there will be some developments on it as we go on. So maybe in another few weeks we can come back and see what the developments are, right?
Yeah. And this is one of those topics you and I talked about where we're going to be looking at the opportunity of bringing, some subject matter experts, right? Come give us a deep dive, give us a masterclass on what's happening in that region of the continent. Let's talk about it. What's happening? Like what's the way forward from here? And this is something that I feel like we should continue to talk about, on Backyard Conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, I think that's it for me for today.
Yep, that's a wrap. And thank you, as always, for listening to Backyard Conversations. Keep those 5-star reviews coming. We thank you. And thank you for, keeping us, on top of the charts as one of the more listened to podcasts in news, culture, business, and technology. As always, from Timmy and I, this is Backyard Conversations. We're out.